It's not every day you come across a car that embodies an entire era, a machine so bold, so unmistakably American, that it becomes more than just metal and wheels, it becomes a cultural monument. The 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am is exactly that. With its low-slung profile, wide stance, screaming eagle hood decal, and rumbling V8, it doesn't just command attention, it demands respect. This car wasn't built to blend in. It was made to own the road, to be remembered, and to give its driver the kind of pride that only a true muscle car can provide. Whether you saw it roaring down the highway or stealing the show in Smokey and the Bandit, one thing is certain, the 1977 Trans Am wasn't just a car. It was an icon of American rebellion, confidence, and style. For collectors, this car isn't just a dream, it's a time capsule. The 77 Trans Am captures the last golden glow of the muscle car era before emissions regulations, oil crises, and downsizing reshaped the industry. It marked the peak of Pontiac's flair for performance mixed with flair. While the horsepower wars of the late 60s had cooled, Pontiac found a way to keep the fire burning with attitude, personality, and a whole lot of charisma. The Trans Am wasn't the fastest car on the road by spec sheet standards, but it had the look, the sound, and the swagger that made people turn their heads. And that, more than anything, is what makes it timeless. Design is where the 1977 Trans Am truly sets itself apart. From its aggressive nose to its shaker hood scoop, this car looked like it meant business. And it did. The front end was redesigned that year to feature the now iconic quad rectangular headlights and a sleeker, more aerodynamic grille. The screaming chicken hood decal wasn't subtle, but that was the point. This was the era of disco, leather jackets, and wide lapels, and the Trans Am matched that energy with gold pinstripes, snowflake wheels, and T-tops that let the sun pour in as you cruised with the radio up. It was confidence on four wheels. Under the hood, the 1977 Trans Am offered a variety of engines, but the most famous was the 6.6-liter, 403 or 400 cubic inch, depending on the configuration, V8. While federal regulations had started choking back raw horsepower figures, Pontiac engineers still found a way to deliver satisfying performance, especially with the optional performance packages. The car wasn't just built to look fast, it sounded the part, too. The deep, throaty exhaust note was a declaration of purpose. This car wasn't meant to save fuel or sip daintily down the street. It was meant to rumble, growl, and leave rubber on the pavement. But beyond its specs, the Trans Am captured something more elusive, cultural lightning in a bottle. When Smokey and the Bandit hit theaters in 1977, it did more than entertain. It immortalized the Trans Am in the hearts of millions. Burt Reynolds behind the wheel of that black and gold beauty created one of the most unforgettable automotive pairings in cinematic history. Sales skyrocketed. Kids had posters on their walls. Adults who might never have considered a muscle car suddenly wanted one. The Trans Am became the poster child for cool, rebellious but refined, rugged yet stylish. In many ways, the 1977 Trans Am was a response to a changing America. The freewheeling optimism of the 1960s had given way to the complexities of the 70s. Economic uncertainty, political scandal, and a society grappling with its own identity. Amidst that backdrop, the Trans Am offered something pure, joy, freedom, power. It wasn't just a way to get from point A to B. It was a way to escape, to stand out, and to feel alive. The driver's seat felt like a cockpit, and when you fired up that engine, you weren't just going for a drive, you were making a statement. Today, more than 4 decades later, that statement still resonates. The 1977 Trans Am has earned its place among the most desirable classic cars, not just because of its looks or its performance, but because of what it represents. It's a reminder of a time when cars had personalities, when they roared instead of whispered, when they made you feel something every time you turned the key. For collectors, owning a Trans Am is about more than resale value or rarity, though it checks those boxes, too. It's about owning a piece of history, a piece of American pride forged in steel and chrome. Restoring a 1977 Trans Am is a labor of love. These cars demand attention, and rightly so. From tracking down original trim pieces to rebuilding the engine to factory spec, enthusiasts pour time and passion into keeping these legends alive. And when they hit the road, you know it. People wave. Strangers smile. Conversations spark at gas stations. It's the kind of car that breaks down barriers and builds bridges. Between generations, between strangers, between memories and dreams. What's perhaps most beautiful about the 1977 Trans Am is that it endures. In an age of touchscreens, silence, and sterile design, this car is a reminder that sometimes excess is good. That there's power in standing out. That a bold hood decal and a growling V8 can bring people together in admiration and awe. It's a car that refuses to fade into the background, because it never belonged there in the first place. So if you've ever dreamed of owning a car that makes your heart race before you even put it in gear, the 1977 Trans Am is waiting. Not just in showrooms or garages, but in the stories, the movies, the memories. It's not just a car, it's a legend on wheels. And whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who appreciates raw, unapologetic style, the 1977 Pontiac Trans Am is one ride you absolutely need to see and feel for yourself. In 1977, amidst the gritty haze of gasoline fumes and the clatter of a changing American landscape, something extraordinary rolled off Pontiac's assembly lines, something that would come to define an era, inspire a generation, and leave tire marks on the soul of automotive history. It was sleek. It was loud. It was unapologetically bold. It was the 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. With a fire-breathing engine, a look that could kill, and a cultural presence that grew louder than its exhaust, the 77 Trans Am wasn't just a car, it was a revolution on wheels. From the very first glance, the 1977 Trans Am made one thing clear: it wasn't interested in blending in. It flaunted its style with a wide, aggressive stance, flared fenders, and a pointed nose that looked like it was carved by the wind itself. But its true signature wasn't in the lines or the curves, it was in the blaze across its hood. The Screamin' Chicken, that massive, flaming bird decal, was as subtle as a thunderclap. It was flamboyant, fearless, and totally unforgettable. More than just decoration, it was a declaration. Here was a car that didn't whisper power, it screamed it. And then there was the T-top. This was more than just a roof, it was a lifestyle. Those removable glass panels weren't just an engineering trick. They were a passport to open-air freedom. Drivers could feel the sun, the wind, the road rushing by, all while gripping the wheel of something that looked like it belonged in a Hollywood car chase. The T-top was a badge of cool, and in 1977, nothing was cooler than peeling out of a parking lot with the sky above you and the road stretching endlessly ahead. Color mattered too. The black and gold edition, most famously immortalized in pop culture, wasn't just a paint job, it was a mood. The deep black shimmered like midnight asphalt, while the gold accents traced every edge like fine jewelry. It was elegance wrapped in aggression. No other muscle car had this kind of presence. It didn't just look fast, it looked like it could outrun time itself. But the 1977 Trans Am wasn't just born into glory, it fought its way there. The 1970s were not kind to carmakers. Between an energy crisis, tightening emission standards, and a public slowly turning towards smaller, more fuel-efficient cars, the muscle car was starting to look like a relic. But Pontiac wasn't ready to give up. The Trans Am was their middle finger to compromise, a way to prove that passion and power could still thrive even in a decade of restrictions. Pontiac made a daring bet that style, soul, and performance still had a place on American roads. And they were right. The Trans Am roared onto the scene, not just defying the odds, but rewriting them. It was more than a car, it was a comeback. With every engine rev and every tire squeal, it announced that the spirit of American muscle wasn't dead. It was just getting started again. And oh, what a heart it had. Under that outrageous hood beat the thundering soul of a 6.6-liter V8 engine, 400 cubic inches of pure attitude. It wasn't just big, it was brutal. Pumping out up to 200 horsepower, a feat in the emissions-choked 70s, the Trans Am could leap from 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds, a time that made other cars weep with jealousy. It had torque for days and a roar that sent chills down the spine. It was raw, unfiltered power, the kind that rattled windows and turned heads from blocks away. It didn't need turbochargers or trickery. It just needed displacement, determination, and a whole lot of gas. But what truly elevated the Trans Am into legend wasn't found on spec sheets or dynos. It was in the stories we told about it, the way it etched itself into the cultural DNA of America. In 1977, the same year the Trans Am hit peak form, it got its ultimate moment in the spotlight. Smokey and the Bandit hit theaters like a nitrous shot to the national psyche. Burt Reynolds, with his mustache, cowboy hat, and devil-may-care grin, tore across the country in a black and gold Trans Am, outrunning cops, jumping bridges, and becoming the outlaw hero every man wanted to be. The car wasn't just a prop, it was the co-star. It was freedom on 4 wheels, a symbol of rebellion, charm, and unstoppable cool. Suddenly, every teenager with a dream and a driver's license wanted to be the Bandit. The Trans Am wasn't just a car anymore, it was a lifestyle. Sales soared, posters flew off shelves, and Pontiac had unwittingly built not just a car, but an icon. And the hits kept coming. The Trans Am didn't just burn rubber on the silver screen, it dominated television too. Though technically the Night Industries 2000 kit of Knight Rider fame was a slightly later model, it carried the torch of the Trans Am legend into the 80s, outfitted with AI, laser scanners, and enough attitude to fill a garage. In Miami Vice, it popped up alongside Ferraris and Limbos, holding its own with a style that said, "American muscle is here to stay." Music loved the Trans Am too. It growled through music videos and album covers, often linked with the rough edge of rock and roll. Bands who lived fast and drove faster saw it as the perfect mechanical muse. Lyrics immortalized it. Videos glamorized it. The Trans Am was the guitar solo of the open road, loud, intense, and impossible to ignore. Fast forward to today, and the 1977 Trans Am has aged like fine whiskey, bold, rare, and treasured by those who understand its significance. It's a collector's crown jewel, a garage centerpiece that commands not just attention, but reverence. With fewer surviving models and even fewer in mint condition, finding a 77 Trans Am is like striking oil, if oil could roar and smoke the tires. Prices have skyrocketed. Pristine models with low miles and original parts are fetching 6 figures at auction. It's not just about owning a car, it's about owning a piece of Americana, a tangible slice of an era when cars were more than transportation. They were statements, dreams, identities. Restoration culture has exploded. All across the country, garages buzz with the sound of rebirth, wrenches turning, spray guns hissing, engines rumbling to life again after decades of slumber. Enthusiasts pour their hearts into these cars, sanding every curve, tuning every valve, chasing authenticity with a kind of religious devotion. These aren't just restorations, they're resurrections. And each finished Trans Am isn't just a car, it's a phoenix rising. If you're hunting one of these beasts, the journey is half the fun. Online auctions are treasure troves, if you know what to look for. Classic car shows offer the chance to shake hands with legends and maybe even drive one home. Specialty dealerships, often run by lifelong gearheads, can guide you to your dream Trans Am like matchmakers of motorized romance. And what of the future? The Trans Am name has been whispered in concept car circles and revival rumors for years. While Pontiac itself may be gone, the legacy lives on in independent ventures and special edition builds that channel the spirit of 77 into modern form. Muscle cars today, Camaro, Mustang, Challenger, all owe a debt to the Trans Am. Its DNA runs through every flared fender, every thunderous V8. It taught designers to mix boldness with performance, nostalgia with innovation. Even as electric cars begin to shape the roads of tomorrow, the legend of the 1977 Trans Am endures. It's more than just metal and horsepower. It's a symbol, a flaming bird screaming defiantly across the sky, refusing to be forgotten. So long as there are roads, there will be drivers who long for that feeling of gripping the wheel, hearing the engine growl, feeling the world blur past at 70 miles an hour under open skies. For them, the 1977 Trans Am will always be waiting, somewhere, with the key in the ignition and the Firebird on the hood. The 1977 Trans Am isn't just a car, it's a legacy carved in steel, fire, and freedom. It's the kind of machine that makes your heart race before you even turn the key, a symbol of raw American muscle that refuses to be forgotten. Decades after it first roared onto the scene, it still turns heads, still inspires passion, and still carries the swagger that made it an instant icon. Whether you remember it from a movie theater seat in 1977, saw one growling down Main Street, or just discovered its story today, the Trans Am captures the imagination in a way few cars ever could. Now it's your turn. We want to hear your stories. Did you or someone you know ever own a 77 Trans Am? Have you seen one at a car show that stopped you in your tracks? Maybe you've dreamed of restoring one, or you just admire it from afar. Whatever your connection is, share it in the comments below. This community isn't just about cars. It's about the memories they carry, the people they connect, and the roads they help us rediscover. Let's keep this legend alive by telling its story together, one comment, photo, and experience at a time. If this ride down memory lane lit a spark in you, don't forget to hit that like button. It's a small gesture that makes a huge difference and helps us bring more timeless machines like the Trans Am into the spotlight. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We've got a garage full of stories, history, and horsepower waiting for you. From forgotten classics to legendary icons, every episode is built to fuel your love for the road. And for those of you hungry for more, get ready, because in our next video, we're firing up another muscle car legend. We'll be diving into the story of the 1970 Dodge Challenger, another beast of the golden age, with its own legacy of power and rebellion. We'll even explore how it stood alongside the Trans Am during the muscle car wars and why both cars still command the kind of respect you can hear before you see. It's a ride you won't want to miss. So, buckle up. The journey doesn't end here. The spirit of the 1977 Trans Am lives on, in the roar of its engine, the shine of its hood, and the stories we continue to share. This is more than nostalgia. It's history in motion. It's fuel for the soul. And if you've never seen one in person, trust us, it's a timeless classic you need to see.